to the cloud. Good afternoon, everybody. As folks are filtering in,
Good afternoon.
I see some familiar names and some familiar photographs, but no live faces. Well, there's Ian coming in. Okay. I actually have to reach out to him about observation, but I'll do that later. And Masu, I see you're there. Your request should have been taken care of, I think, in terms of the, I think it was registering or the switch for your minor, if I remember correctly. Yes, all good, cool, okay. Hopefully nobody is in Sunset, Brooklyn. I'll give folks another minute or two to get in here. We're up to 13 students, that's good. 14, actually 13 now. Actually, Tom, I'm gonna make you co-host.
Thank you.
So if you want to share anything. If my noise gets overwhelming here, Tom, just let me know. I don't think there's any gardeners with wind machines yet. So is everybody ready for spring break?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. One person, that's it. Yes, okay. People are chatting, cool, all right. Oh, that's my new puppy, just ignore him. And there's the MCS boys. What's today, Purple Day?
I think it's just my camera. It's
Yeah,
big.
I'm wearing black.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah, oh, that's black?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
black.
It's all right, it's coming. Actually, it might just be my screen, okay.
No, it's in my
So-
camera.
No, yeah, it's
I don't
definitely.
All right.
So- We're ready for
All
spring
right,
break.
good. People, I'm pleased people are coming in. I'm sure people have individual questions too, which we will get to towards the end. Hopefully we can keep this to about half hour, 45 minutes. Because I have to cook dinner. I'm sure some of you guys do too. Or get home. So let's see, what is it now? It is 5 after. We'll give one more minute and we'll get started. I'm gonna pause for. Okay, we are recording. Today is the 12th of April, 2022. This is a JMS student meeting, which is being recorded. This recording will be available for people to check out if they miss something, or if they get dropped or they're in a position where they can't continue to attend. I'm Professor Jim Carney. With us today on the faculty is our chairman, Tom O'Hanlon, and I'm happy to see Professor Scheinheit is also joining us. So thank you for being here. This is something that we used to do live and in person, and we were going to do this in a version of HighFlex, but it just logistically became difficult, so we figured it was easier to do it this way. I have to talk to Professor O'Hanlon, and then maybe we'll see if we need to do another one. We like to do these before registration starts, so that we can get people prepared and they're in place to register for classes as soon as they open for the fall. We've just been, well, actually, we were not informed. We found out on our own that registration has been pushed back again. So registration is not opening for the fall now until May 3rd. So that gives folks some more time to look into issues which we can't talk about here, like issues of financial aid and stops and stuff like that. So it gives you some time to try and catch up on those sorts of things. But don't wait. You should jump on your registration date as soon as it opens, because we're very much limited on what we can offer in terms of classes. And if you need something to graduate, you need to be able to register for it as soon and as quickly as possible. So, so we'll talk a little bit about the summer session. The registration for summer session opened 6 days ago. And if you can take advantage of those, we encourage you to do so. We'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. Then we'll go into fall registration and what our hopes are for the fall registration. We'll give you a little bit of some of the dirt behind the scenes in terms of the wonderful new operating systems we have in terms of registration. And the new CUNY First, which is dropping right in the middle of spring break. And I'll talk about that a little bit. Yes, CUNY First is changing as of, I think, Wednesday of next week. So there's a lot of excitement. I use the word excitement. I'll put it in air quotes. You can see me do that coming up in terms of what's going on with Lehman. So that's why we wanted to do this meeting. We like to say that it's not mandatory, but it's critical because you folks are your big boys and girls, as the expression goes. So you're responsible for making sure that your things are in place, all of your elements are in place, the classes that you need, you've taken, that if you need permissions or if you need us to do some special paperwork for you, that you remind us to get it done. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that has to happen. So you may at times have to talk to us and come down on us to do that. That's fine. You can remind us. But there are certain people that you should be talking to for certain things, like, for example, for registering for individual classes and permissions for classes, you should be going to the professor that is teaching the class. I have a couple of outstanding permissions in my queue from yesterday and today. I will get to them. And if if it's all possible, I will give you permission for those classes, but we're not supposed to give permission for classes we're not teaching. I know I don't like it when people let people in my class, and sometimes they don't have the prerequisites, or there are other issues involved. So, so I just saw Professor O'Hanlon just posted a Word document for the summer schedule, so you can check that out and see what classes are being offered. Thank you, Tom. So as I said, summer classes opened officially on the 6th. Oh yeah, and then we'll do after that. I'll finish my table of contents here. After that, we'll talk a little bit about capstones, how they're working. Not a lot has changed from last semester, but it has changed in recent semesters. So it's important for people that are kind of aware that they need to do something called a capstone, know how that works, and that you do have to do a capstone to graduate in all 3 of our majors. So, and then after that, we'll take some questions. I would ask that if you have a very specific question for you and your situation, that you just hold it to the end, and I'll try and get to as many of those as I can, or I'll deal on an email basis tonight. I promise it'll be tonight. So that's what we're doing in the next few minutes. Tom, anything else you want to add before I jump into summer?
No, I think that's about it. Just everybody, I'm glad you're here, because we do periodically get those questions where people say, so what are you offering in the summer? Well, you take a look and there it is. Also, what Professor Carney said, very important, do email the instructor directly. And also, if it is like a mid-level course, make sure that you took the prerequisites, not can I take it? It's like, all right, I took it. Here's my EMPL number. May I have it? Help us help you. We're all here to make this as smooth a journey as possible, but it's important that you be invested in it, because we want to help you achieve all of your success.
Okay, thank you, Tom. There are quite a few courses that we are offering in the summer in all 3 of the majors, particularly classes in MCS. I'll go through those first. And just mention them and then see if anyone has specific questions about those. But in the MCS area, we're offering global cinema. By the way, these are all online courses, which is typical for the summer. They are not always 100% online, but for the most part, this summer at least they are. Classes that'll be offered will be global cinema with Professor Gonzalez, and that is in June. Introduction to Media and Digital Culture, which is the introductory course with Professor Scheinheit, is being offered in the second session, which is mid-July through August 11th. Introduction to PR, I will be teaching in June. That is literally the month of June. It's the 6th through the 30th. Corporate communications, I will also be doing, but that's in the 6-week session that straddles June and half of July. So it's not quite as intense. So the assignments, instead of like 2 or 3 a week, there may be 2 or 1 a week, depending on the intensity of the assignments. Media Industries 1 is also being offered with Professor Boston. That is in the second session, which is mid-July through mid-August as well. And finally, a documentary is being offered. I'll be teaching that. That is also in the 6-week session. So that is June 6th through mid-July. So there's a lot of MCS courses there that'll allow people to catch up on some of the courses you may not have been able to get into. For anybody that is here who's a transfer student, welcome. It would be an accomplishment if you are, because generally, if you're a transfer student, you wouldn't be on the listserv yet. What I'd like to do before I go on, though, and I'll go on to JMS and then on to journalism and then to FCS in a minute. I just want to take a quick survey of how many people found out about this meeting through, you can use your raised hands or you can put it in the chat. How many people found out about this through the listserv? Polishad, okay, Sasha, Yasuv, Diana, Marissa, okay. For the folks that did not raise your hand or did not put anything in the chat, how did you find out about this? Did somebody tell you? Did a professor tell you? You can open your mic. You're not all muted. Anybody? Anybody want to? Nobody wants to say. Okay, so people got the email. You got the email from, okay. Okay. If we do this again before regular registration, I think we will just ask all the professors to send it out through Blackboard to make sure everybody finds out about it. Also, we have a bunch of transfer students coming in. Is anyone in the group here today, right now, a transfer student this semester who is just coming in this semester? Just raise your hand, or I don't see any hands. Okay, that's good, so we can talk about them. And I am going to talk about them because I want to tell you that they are generally desperate to get into classes, and you guys get first shot at the classes as current existing students. So that's why it's even more important for you to register when you can, because once the transfer students are given a shot at registering for the students, they don't mess around and those classes fill up. So, so just a word about that. So let's go on to JMS. I'm working off of one screen outside here today, so bear with me. It's just such a beautiful day, and we've had such horrible days so far. I couldn't resist doing it outside. So let's see, let's go on to FTS first. FTS. And actually, I will share screen this time. All right. Hmm. Let me see if this works. Hold on. Loading security. They changed stuff here. Okay, loading security and privacy, Zoom. Camera, microphone, accessibility. All right, I will run through it verbally. I don't want to take the time to figure out why Zoom is not letting me share screen. Tom, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see?
I do not see a screen share now.
All right, let me try this one more time.
Oh, can I drop in a few things while you're looking for that?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
And feel free to drop the screen in whenever you see it. Everybody, just a couple of quick things. This is primarily for people who are studying FTS. But when you send an email to anyone and you're asking for information about, some advising, especially ideally if you're talking to a faculty member during his or her advising office hours, always specify whether your concentration is TV or film, because in FTS, you have to choose one or the other because the core requirements are the same, but the concentration courses, there are some differences. MCS is only one that goes straight through, but any of them for FTS, JRN, and MCS, make sure that you're very clear about what you're asking for, just because there are a lot of people here who want to help you, but you never want to have that situation where you're saying, I want that media course for the thing, for the, what I'm studying that I emailed you about 4 months ago. Just pop it all in there and let everybody know, but also know who advises in the different disciplines. I know sometimes people just email me about everything, and I find out they also email 4 other people. So find out who your advisor is typically, and then work with that person. But just help us help you. We want to try to get it all going. And as Professor Carney also mentioned, when the transfer students show up, yeah, they do take care of business.
Hi,
So
I'm Siri. Choose the voice you'd like me to use.
Sorry about that.
that's all right. Hi, Siri. So what I would say is don't wait around, because I didn't get a chance to really means I didn't bother to, and we're here to help you. So jump right in there and get those seats. All right. It matters. It's, because we want you to get what you need.
Okay, I would just verbally go through these classes. You can go into CUNY first and see them for yourselves. And also Professor O'Hanlon did print these there in the chat, so you can open them that way in Word. So I'm just going to go through them quickly. History of Cinema 2 is being offered with Professor Ruiz. That is a double class that is both, and for those that may not be aware right now and should be aware by now, that means that there is a lecture and a lab. So it looks like there's 2 classes. There's not. It's one class that when you register for the first section, it automatically puts you in it. So that is during the month of June with Professor Ruiz. Again, that's online asynchronous. FTS 212, the Introduction to Film and Television. There are, again, there is one section that is being offered in July, or the second 4-week period, actually, which is mid-July through mid-August. And that is with Professor Ruiz as well. And then there's a lot of confusion. Well, actually, no, Film, TV, and Analysis. There is also a section of that with Professor Ruiz that's being offered in June, just in the month of June. And that runs the 6th through the 30th. And then Cinema Aesthetics and Criticism, which is a class I am not teaching. Professor Ruiz is teaching that course. So you really need to reach out to him for permission if you need that course. If you can't get hold of him, then you can shoot me an email and I'll try and intervene if needed, but you should be reaching out to Professor Ruiz for that. So that is the FTS. Let me move on from there and we'll take a look at the JRN. Undergraduate, and here we go. Okay, actually, the only JRN is the 211, which is the required course across all three majors. That is being offered by Professor Pagan, again, online asynchronous, and that is from June 6th through the middle of July 14th. So all those courses are open right now. Some of them do require permissions. If you need permission, just ask. Let me just move a little bit out of the sun here, a little bit of glare. So that's it for there. Let me just see any questions in the chat. I don't see any right now. Okay. As I said, this is a good chance for you to jump on this. Also, it's an opportunity if people are interested in doing minors. We've picked classes in such a way, sorry about the shadows through my face here, that we picked classes that make it easier for folks that would like to minor in one of our areas, particularly in MCS and FTS, to be able to take courses so that they can at least do most of their minor in the summer. So I think all the FTS classes that are needed for the minor are available in the summer. So if you'd like to do that, you can. MCS is a very similar situation. We do not have the listing yet. Tom, we don't have a listing right now for the fall semester ready to go yet. Is that right?
We're waiting for it to appear in the system. They changed the way the registration system operates in terms of scheduling, and it's taking longer for it to go through. So I have a preliminary list of what we're offering, if I can refer anything for us.
If you have specific questions, maybe we can hold that to the end as to which. Does anybody want to know if a specific, let's just open it up now. Does anyone have a question about a specific class? I see somebody, Aminata, I think you said, what was the class that I mentioned? The last class I mentioned, I'm assuming you may mean the 420, which is Cinema Aesthetics and Criticism. That's with Professor Ruiz. That has a prerequisite, by the way, of I think it's intro to it's 212, I believe, or Cinema 102.
Yes, FTS 212 Intro to Film and Television, or FTS 209 or 210 History.
Okay. Question from Ashley. Ashley, there are no prerequisites to do the major. If you come in with some courses that you've taken that you think look like some of the courses that we are asking you to take, they're all listed. All the courses are listed in the Lehman website under the JMS listing and a JMS page. So if you see classes there that you think are the same, and they should be showing up on your degree works. Degree works has gotten much better in recent years, and they tend to be keeping up with it pretty well. So, but as far as prerequisites are concerned, there are no prerequisites. As a matter of fact, if you're coming in as a transfer student at 60 credits, you have to declare a major. Even if you change your mind later on, you do have to declare it. So I hope that answers your question. So turning to the fall semester again, if you have specific questions about a course, you can send an email to myself or to Professor O'Hanlon. Actually, send it to me, and I'll get back to you and let you know what the plans are for courses. They've been pushed back. There is a new system called Course Dog. Yes, Course Dog, it's called. And there's all sorts of jokes going on behind the scenes about what a dog the program is, but it's making life very difficult for a lot of the administrators. So that's why we're a little bit delayed in registration this particular semester. Our recommendation again is to take summer classes if you can. A typical question we get is, can I use financial aid in summer classes? And my favorite answer, if anyone's taken my class in a couple of my classes, there's one answer that's correct for every question that I ask. And that answer is, it depends. So does financial aid, can you use it in the summer classes? It depends. Depends on a couple of things. It depends on the semester, what the current policies and rules are, but it also depends on what kind of financial aid you're talking about, because there's different types of financial aid. Some is from the state, some is from the city, some is from the federal government, some are grants, some are loans, and they all differ. So only someone from financial aid can really answer that question. My history is that generally students are successful in being able to at least use some of their financial aid to be able to pay for classes, but that's in general. For you specifically, you need to contact financial aid, and you need to make an appointment in advance, and they are very, very busy. So again, it's kind of good they pushed registration back. This gives you additional opportunities to look into things like financial aid for the fall, as well as the summer classes. So try and take summer classes if you can. They're online, they're intense, but they're very, very flexible. You can do your classes from the beach. You can do them, I was going to say a cruise ship, but nobody's going on cruises. Anybody who's in my advertising class, you know what I'm talking about. But you can do them online, so they're very, very flexible. They're intense. So we talked about registration. That will be posted probably next week at some point, either later this week or next week. It'll show up in CUNY first, and you'll be able to see the classes there. If you have an opportunity to just keep an eye on things during spring break, I know people have a tendency to want to zone out, which is totally understandable. We do too, but you may just want to every once in a while check to see what's posted in terms of that. So that's it. Anything else you want to add, Tom, for fall semester at this point?
I think thank you, Jim. That was no, I think you covered it all so far. One thing I want to point out to everybody is, please do not ever assume that every course is offered every semester. We're all working very hard to try to continue to grow. We're hiring more people, bit by bit, but COVID really was a big setback for hiring. It slammed the brakes on, but we're making progress. But do not assume that just because you need a class that it's being offered. I'm saying that with the utmost respect and support. Read the schedule, see what's there, plan ahead, and don't wait till the last minute, because there are some courses that we have to alternate semesters when we offer them. All right, so keep that in mind. And also just know what is required. You want to plan ahead. You don't want to wait till the last minute.
Okay. You are, as majors in a communications degree, whether it's MCS or FTS or JMS, or journalism rather, are expected to look out for your own well-being, and that includes understanding and knowing what is required for graduation. Sometimes it does require some paperwork for us, like for example, in terms of the minors, because we do not have a lot of 400 level courses, you are permitted to take a second 300 level course in each of our 3 majors, and we will do a substitution and tell the registrar that that counts as a 400 level course. Unfortunately, that requires some paperwork, and you do have to remind us, as some of you know, multiple times to go in and do that paperwork, because it's a little cumbersome and it takes time for us to do, but we do get through it, and then it has to go through processes. Like if I do it, then it has to go to Professor O'Hanlon, then it has to go to standards, then it has academic standards, and it has to go to the registrar, then it shows up. So it does take a little bit of time. Some of you may be in that situation now. If you are planning to graduate in May, you should have already done a graduation check or started that process. If you go onto the advising page, the advising basically is for, there are two levels, a minimum of 2 levels of advising. What we talk to you about in sessions like this and one-on-one and in Zoom sessions and in emails is departmental advising. There's a whole other area of advising, which is advising in general for all of the other things you need to graduate. This is a liberal arts bachelor's degree, and the major is only a component of that. It's a major component, no pun intended, but it's only a component. You have to have a certain number of liberal arts courses. You have to have a certain number of LEH courses, which are general education courses. There are other things that are required that you have to have in order to graduate, as well as 120 credits. We're not responsible for overseeing that. The registrar's office and the general advising office will tell you about that. And you need to talk to them to make sure you have everything you need, that you have the languages you need, you have the LEH classes that you need, that you have the math that you need, you have all the liberal arts courses that you need. We can't advise you on that. And anything we say is not binding. And none of us should be advising you on that. We only advise you on the 3 majors and the 3 minors, journalism, media studies, and FTS. So let's move on to capstones. Capstones are a point of confusion for a lot of people, which we apologize, but I'm going to try and summarize what the capstone is very briefly. Also, there is a 1-page document that we have that we can send out if you request it. In an email, we'll send it back to you, which explains in detail in writing what I'm talking about in terms of capstones. In general, what is the capstone class? The capstone is a class. It's a 3-credit course that you have to register for, that you have to pay for, whether you pay out of pocket in cash on your own, or you pay with financial aid, or the way you pay for every other course, you have to pay for the capstone. Too many times, students make arrangements. They talk to a faculty advisor about a project, and a month into the semester, they say, oh, I had to register. You have to register for the course, okay? If it does not show up in your transcript, if it does not show up in your degree works, if you can't get access to the Blackboard site for that capstone class, there's a problem. And if you don't fix it immediately, it could mean that you don't graduate on time. So please, as far as the capstones are concerned, the capstone classes, which briefly are the 481s or the 491-92s, okay? The class numbers are 481 or 491 and 92. I'll explain the difference of those two in the middle in a moment, but you have to register for those. I can't say how strongly and how important that is, all right? You cannot register without getting permission. The way that the capstone, well, let me summarize what the capstone is supposed to be. When you graduate with 120 credits, you have a well-rounded liberal arts degree with a major in journalism or film and television studies or media studies. And when you show someone, a prospective employer or an admissions officer for a grad school, they say, oh, fine, these are the courses you've taken. But they're going to want to know, what do you know how to do? What can you do? Can you show us something that you've done that shows us that you know how to be a reporter, that you know how to write a story, that you know how to write a script, that you know how to do a short film, that you know how to build a website for marketing for a company, that you know how to do the things necessary to get a job and be successful in your career. So that's what the capstone is designed to be. It's supposed to be something to put in your portfolio in addition to being put in your degree. All right, so it's in two places. It's something that you have to show that not only did I learn in class what I'm supposed to learn, I know how to do it. And that can be an academic research paper. It can be a number of different things. That's number one. Number two is for most of the capstones, you work one-on-one with one of the full-time faculty. And that means you have to talk to that faculty member before they let you register for their course. And that doesn't mean, Professor, I need permission. You have to tell that faculty member what you want to do, what your idea is. You have to have a proposal or an idea, unless it's an internship. I'll get to the internships in a minute. If the capstone project should be something that you know how to do, like I said, it can be a script, it can be a short film, it can be a website that you create for someone, something, or some project that is a real website. Whoa, excuse me for a minute. Be right back.
Hey, everybody, I'll do a little backfill here while Professor Carney's checking whatever just happened. So with a capstone, it should be an action plan. It should explain where you're going to go, what will come out of it. You don't want it to be, well, I'm going to look into like studying bias in media. That's a theme. It's not a plan. So what we're doing is we're asking you to come up with something that has a trajectory. Now, the other thing is nobody ever gets permission for a capstone until they have that plan and they've spoken with a full-time member of the JMS faculty, and that person has agreed to be your capstone advisor. So in other words, I heard there's a capstone. What about that is not an approach you want to take, but the fact that you're here already demonstrates you're committed to moving ahead successfully, and we respect that. So just give it some thought. When you have a capstone plan, you need to run it by someone. They have to agree. And we also never have anybody say, I was never assigned an advisor. No, we have full-time faculty here who advise in the different disciplines. So you go to them and you ask them, whether it be for a capstone or just checking in each semester. There are people here who are ready to help you. But we don't go out and look for you on Golden Avenue or go over to your house. We figure some people have different needs in advising. So, just help us help you. I know that's a recurring theme, but we really mean it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that concludes our entertainment portion of the program. I'm sorry, the dangers of doing a session from outside. My umbrella took off into the air and got caught in the trees behind me. Anyhow, my apologies. So thank you, Professor O'Hanlon, for stepping in. So you have to approach one of us and then tell us what you want to do. And then we'll say yes, or we'll say maybe, or we'll say Professor Scheinheit's a better example of a person who knows that area, and therefore you should probably approach him with this idea, because we all have our specialties. Professor O'Hanlon is a production person as well as a journalist. I do a lot of media studies in addition to doing some journalism and sometimes some FTS as well. But we all have our specialties as to what we know how to help folks with. So don't just go, I'm going to go with Carney because he's easy. That's not the way it works. All right. You should pick a professor who is going to be one that's going to help you get your final project, the jewel in your crown, so to speak, of your work at Lehman, and help that jewel shine when you graduate. There are two types of, let me back up a little bit here. Okay, so that's the individual independent study capstone, which is the JMS, the FTS, or I'm sorry, the JRN, FTS, or MCS 481. Okay. And again, not all of us have capstones under faculty members. Like, for example, most of my capstones are MCS 481s. So they should be an MCS type of capstone. If you want to do something in journalism, it's additional work for us to say, Professor Carney, I want to do a JRN capstone with you. I'm not saying it's impossible, but generally the faculty who do the JRNs are the ones that you'll see in CUNY first listed under the JRN. So you should look for them according to your major. There is one thing that we added last year, which we found to be very, very useful, and that's the area of a separate capstone section that is just for internships. Internships can be extraordinarily valuable. They can also be a waste of time. I know people that got the most glamorous internship. They were so happy. Oh, professor, I got this internship at MTV. I'm going to be at MTV in the middle of the world in Times Square, blah, blah, blah. And they end up being locked in a closet screening videos all day long to be able to pass along to a producer that they never see. And they were miserable. But the type of internship that we're allowing for capstones are ones where you actually have a role in creating something wherever you do the internship. If it's an FTS internship, maybe you would do it at a production studio and you would be a production assistant on a show. If you're doing it at MCS, you might be doing an internship at an advertising agency and be the assistant to the webmaster, creating the web marketing plans. It's something that, to put it briefly, gives you a title that you can put down in your resume afterwards that you did at this company. It's not just that I answered phones, I walked the boss's dog, I got their dry cleaning. That doesn't cut it. All right. We don't want that for you, and you don't want that for yourself. So if you want to do an internship, a capstone internship, yes, you can. That section is, I believe, still under me, and it's a separate section where it's FTS, JRN, and MCS. 481, and I think it's usually section 3. I'm not sure if it is in the fall, Tom. It was this last semester, but it's section 03. But you should consult if you're doing an internship. And by the way, you should almost have your internships now for the fall. If you're looking to do them, it's not too late. You can still go out and find them, but you should still go and find them. And don't talk to me about it's COVID, we can't do internships. You can do an internship with a company in London or in Tokyo now, because they're virtual internships. The business world has learned that virtual internships can be every bit as valuable or more valuable to them as a company. So the opportunities are there for you to work in companies across the globe. All you have to do is do the legwork and the research to find out. So the capstone internship should be somewhere that you can envision yourself working, or somewhere that you would love to have on your resume that you had worked at, and that you have someone who can vouch for you and say, they were a good intern, they were a good employee, you should hire them. But again, we are not going to let you register for the internship capstone until you come to us with details about the internship that you have been accepted into. Not, oh, professor, I'm going to write an email next week to see if I can get in. Please let me register. No, you have to come back and say, I spoke to the HR people there, they agreed. And then I've already been accepted. This is going to be my contact person there, and these are the hours that I'm going to work. So you have to be able to tell us that information before we let you register. Jacqueline has a question. Is there a deadline? There is no deadline to reach out to a professor. However, I will tell you, we are limited in the number of capstones we can take. So we fill up. So for example, they don't like us to take more than 4 individual capstones, which means we get 4 students each. Anything above that, it takes an effort to convince them that we as professors can handle it, and we're allowed to handle it. And it's not that easy. So the earlier you approach a professor, the better, and the better chance you have of getting the right professor and getting feedback immediately. The professors you can speak to are the full-time faculty members. Okay, full-time faculty members are not adjuncts. If you're not sure, you can go to the listing in the JMS page on the website. And it does fluctuate from semester to semester. But if you're in any doubt, approach the professor you're interested in, and they'll tell you whether or not they're able to take on capstones. Okay. So that's the internship section. So that's one separate section. And what we do with that is not only do you do an internship, but we meet like every other week where we have guest speakers come in and talk about their careers and how they got into the business. We have alumni who are in the businesses that we represent that talk about how they got their first job, what they did while they were at Lehman, and those sorts of things. And that is generally every other week. And if you can't make it to those synchronous sessions for the internship capstone, we record them and you can watch them asynchronously, and it counts. So, and other people are encouraged and invited to come in and watch those sessions as well. So those are the capstones. Yes, you have to do a capstone if you are a major in journalism, MCS, or FTS. Finally, the honors capstone. The honors capstone is a 3-credit, let's just say, for example, MCS honors would be MCS 491, and you also have to register for 492, which is a 1-credit course. So it's a 3 + 1. So instead of just 3 credits, it's 4 credits. It's actually a 3 + 1. You have to register for both. It's not automatic. In order to qualify, you have to have a 3.5 index in your major. That major being journalism or film studies or MCS. You can figure out what your index is by going to, there's a computation table as to how many, like for example, an A is 4.0. What you do is then take all the courses that you're using for your major, add them up, divide that by the number of classes, and that'll give you like a 3.75, a 3.5, 3.2, whatever. So that's the first criteria. The second criteria is you have to get a faculty member to agree to take you on in an honors capacity. The colloquium varies from major to major, and it depends on the project as well. So you should consult the individual faculty member that, number one, if you qualify for the honors capstone. Number two, you understand that it's 4 credits, so it's extra money if you're paying out of pocket. If you're getting financial aid, generally the extra credit, that extra single credit is covered. If you want to do it, some people qualify. They opt not to do it because they want to devote all of their time into the actual internship or into the actual capstone. That's a decision you can make. We can't make that one for you. But the minimum requirement is a 3.5 index in the major. Okay. So it's a similar situation. If you think you qualify, you're going to have to do a regular capstone and do something above and beyond that. And again, it depends on what project you're doing. A colloquium very often is a discussion that takes place, or a weekly conversation with the professor and possibly with other honors students if it's a research project. If it's a film, it could be promoting the film or putting it in a film festival as something above and beyond that proves and is an additional element that caps off the capstone person, for lack of a better term. So again, if you have a question about whether something is suitable for a capstone, number one, is suitable for an internship, number two, or whether or not you would qualify for an honors and it's something you want to do, you can reach out to the individual professor and they can make that determination with you. But ultimately, you have to make that decision. Okay. Any other questions about capstones at the moment? that are not specific individual questions? I don't see any in the chat right now. Okay. As far as general information in the college, in terms of classes and COVID information, we don't have that information here. The best thing we can do is refer you back to the information that is being given by Lehman and by CUNY. And it's changing. It changes on a week-to-week basis. If you go on spring break, don't assume everything's the same when you come back. For example, some colleges are reinstating a mask policy because COVID is back up with COVID. It is, what is it? Not Delta, it is the Omicron 3.2, which is increasing infection rates. The mayor is infected. He is in quarantine right now. And the Speaker of the House is in quarantine right now. So infections are going back up again. Is CUNY going to reinstitute a masking policy? I would hope not, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do, and you need to know that. If you get notification about random testing, take it seriously. They will not let you on campus if you don't get tested. I can't say that enough. If you get an email saying that you have been selected for random testing, you must do it or you will not be allowed on campus. And I'm going to be totally honest, it is not an excused absence. People are saying, sorry, professor, I can't come to class because I was stopped because I didn't get tested. That's your responsibility to stay on top of that. That is an absence. So don't ask me. Other professors can speak for themselves, but don't ignore those warnings. As far as how many classes are going to be face-to-face, I think it's a little bit looser in the fall as of right now. Having said that, anything can happen between now and the fall. So the short answer to COVID questions is we don't have the answers. Keep watching the Lehman website, the CUNY website, stay on top of the news. You know what the news is, right? That's that thing that you don't watch on TV anymore, that you don't read in newspapers, and that you pretend that your pop-up alerts from Entertainment Tonight and TMZ are. That's not the news, all right? Keep an eye on the news. So that's COVID info. That's what is in my agenda. Professor O'Hanlon, what would you like to add? And then Professor Scheinheit wants to add anything, Ian?
Oh, thank you. Sure, if I may, just going back to internships, people will sometimes say, how do I get an internship? Where can you get me an internship? Now, the important thing is New York is arguably the media capital of the Western Hemisphere, certainly one of them. There are a lot of organizations and a lot of great internships out there, but we are not able to place you. The organization, the media organization, whether it be a television, radio station, a magazine, a newspaper, a marketing firm, anything that involves creating media content or engaging in some sort of media study, you have to get them to accept you. So the best thing to do is think, where do I see myself? For example, don't go to WCBS News Radio 880, where I do some on-air work, and say, I really want to be a DJ. The answer is no, it's an all news station. You know, you don't go to ESPN and say, I want to do theater reviews. So I say this to you as your coach. If there is a place that you think that looks like me, that sounds like me, read up on it and find out what they do, because it's not a matter of how will they adapt to you. It's how can you be part of the bigger thing that they do. And it can be a wonderful experience. You can make a connection that can score some great opportunity for you. But you have to do it, and your resume must be perfect. If there's a typo in it, you are dead. I'm not making this up. If you send typos, it says to most people, you either didn't pay enough attention or you don't care enough. And we don't ever want that to happen. I've seen it happen. Somebody sent out a brilliant resume, and it had typos in it, and they were dead in the water from day one. So, you know, do the right thing. do your homework and think about the incredible relationship you could establish with an organization out there. It's good.
Jacqueline had a question about examples of independent projects. Independent projects basically it's very flexible. I've had students who have put together marketing campaigns for their family businesses. And the family business could be something as simple and basic as a beauty parlor or a nail salon or a bakery. Or one student, they had a family-owned business in the Dominican Republic for kitchen remodeling. And she did an entire online marketing campaign that her father ended up using and paying her for. I've had someone who did something for their church. They put together a proposal and marketing and website for an upstate retreat camp for gospel churches, to recruit for wedding weekends, for gospel music, holiday sleepovers, for whatever. And it was really, really well done. And he did that for his church. They can be research projects, particularly if you're looking for graduate school possibilities after graduation. It can be a research project, but I'm not talking about a 500-word, 2-page paper here. This is a semester-long research project that you work week by week with one of your professors that can be essentially published somewhere in a scholarly journal or in a trade magazine or something like that, that can be published. All right. It can be a series of articles for journalism majors. It can be a series of reports that you do for video, for a news website. It can be a series of podcasts. And when I say that, I'm not saying you just open up 2 microphones and you talk sports with your best buddy. It has to be a meaningful podcast that's of interest to the general public, that you give thought to, you produce, and you market and promote, and then actually gets distributed. Okay, so there's tremendous flexibility. And if none of those things appeal to you, or if they're overwhelming for you, then you can go the internship route and try and get an internship at a place that you envision yourself working after you graduate. People say, where can I go and ask for an internship? Where would you like to be 2 years from now? What's your dream job? Go to the human resources department of that company's website and send them an email. Odds are they take interns. Okay. And as Professor O'Hanlon said, we will not get you an internship. We will help you and guide you and recommend places that you might be able to look. But we're not going to tell you what your internship should be. That's not the way it works. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Professor Scheinheit, you want to add anything? Ian?
Yeah, hi, everybody.
Professor?
Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. That was Nicole. Did you have a question? Yeah, go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yeah, so I have a question. So I have to take the 400 level for both MCS for minor and FDS for a major. So can I take like one capstone for both, or just have to do 2 different capstones?
No. Okay, well, wait a minute. Capstones are different from the 400 level courses. Okay. The capstone generally, okay, let me back up a little bit. For a major and a minor, you can generally overlap one course, 1 3-credit course. Okay. So if you need a 4, but keep in mind, most of our minors have a required course that is going to count for both classes. Like, for example, the 214 is required in a couple of places, or the 212. The 212 is a better example. FTS 212 is required as a minor requirement for, actually, that's not true. But let me just simplify it. You can do it for one class. So if you need a 400 level course, say an FTS and you take the FTS 420, and you have to take it for MCS, as long as you don't take another course that is required for both. So I'm thinking FTS, you could do that. So you can only do it with one class, all right? The capstone generally is not something you use in a minor as a 400 level course. We generally don't, I don't think we've ever permitted that because it's not an academic course. For a minor, it needs to be an academic course. So in that particular case, if you can't find another 400 level course, you can take another 300 level course in that minor, and then we'll do the paperwork to give you an equivalency. Does that answer your question, Nicole?
Yeah, so I could just ask to take like another minor for the MCS for like another 300 level. if
Right,
I
and
can't find.
you
Okay.
take another 300 level course, just run it by us to make sure. Almost all of them are fine, but just run it by us and say, yes, we'll give you the equivalency for that course. But generally, it's not a problem.
Yeah, it's very important because we don't currently have a 400 level MCS running, but we do have some advanced 300s. But of course, as Professor Carney was saying, don't assume, ask first, because it's way better to ask and have us help you be on track rather than say, here's what I did, can we save me? You know, we want to make it nice and easy because, you know, people will say, oh, why can't you? You know, they have academic standards, the department here at Lehman. And the important thing is, we explain the reasoning for why we request something like that. And they do have the right to say no. Not that we will ask for things that are unreasonable, but we just want you to understand why, you know, we have to be very careful in maintaining the academic quality of the college where you're getting your degree from.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ian, you wanted to add something before we wrap up here?
There's another hand up. This is a great information panel here. I just wanted to add two things. One is when you meet with us, be aware of what you've taken, right? Know the classes that you've taken and think about, go to the website, the Journalism Media Studies website, and look at what courses are necessary. That way we can help. We don't have a crystal ball and we don't know everything that you've done. Two, don't be intimidated by the capstone. You can do it. Think it through. Think about what it is that you're interested in, right? What are you interested in, and what are you interested in learning more about? And in that way, really try to find your voice and what you want to add to, media, journalism, or film and television. And you can do it. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one thing, one other story I'll tell you about. I had one student who said, I work full time, I have family things, I can't do a capstone, I can't do an internship, I can't commit to it. And we sat and we talked about it. And I said, well, where do you have a regular? You said you have a job. Where do you work? He goes, I'm a bank teller. I said, okay, all right, let's back up here. All right. What bank do you work for? He said, I work for Capital One Bank. I said, okay, Capital One is introducing, this is a few years ago, is introducing this new, like, there were opening branches that were supposed to be like Starbucks, where they had a bakery, where they had couches and they had people in jeans and chinos with iPads walking around and trying to sell you loans and stuff. And they were promoting them. And I said, listen, why don't go to your manager and ask if part of your hours can be redirected to work with the promotions department of your bank and help them with the promotion of the opening of these new branches, which means press releases, it means guest lists, it means reaching out to the media. It is an MCS function. First of all, the woman who was running that project for the bank was working by herself. She was thrilled to get the help. The guy before the end of the student before the end of the semester was transferred into the marketing department of the regional bank where he started as a teller before he finished his capstone. Okay, so you may say, I don't have time, I have too many obligations. Well, you have interests. A lot of people have things they do with their churches. Churches are institutions and organizations that need support. There are projects you can do for your church that can help you with get your capstone and maybe get you that much closer to heaven when you're finished. So there's always a way to do something that's going to help you, and we'll work with you on that. We'll sit, we'll talk, and we'll figure out what is a doable capstone for you. Okay. And in okay, one more question for Ashley, who is one of our transfer students. Ashley, you don't really have to worry about the capstone until the last semester or maybe the next to last semester. So you have plenty of time, but you should start thinking about it now. And that's why it's a great thing that you're at this meeting, because now you at least know about it and you can start thinking about it in the back of your mind as you're taking classes. So excellent question, and welcome to Lehman. With that, if there are no other questions, I am going to bring this to a close. I want to thank everybody for being here. We may do another session like this since they did push back registration 1 week. I have taken a screenshot and I will go back to the recording, so I will know everyone who has been here, and we will remember that. It's not that there's any credits off, but real quickly, Jacqueline's asking, does the internship have to be the duration of the semester? Not necessarily. You have to do 120 hours for us. Where you do the internship, they may require more than that. Some people start the internship before the semester starts in the summer and let it lead into, and they finish it up in like October. That's fine. Then you have everything done then halfway through the semester. That's cool. So it has to be a certain length. It has to be 120 hours that you put in. But quite frankly, how you do it and when you do it is between you and the internship location where you're doing the internship. Okay. Okay, so with that, I want to thank everybody for being here. Next time, feel free to open your cameras. We like to see faces other than screenshots. That's great. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you for everybody in the music room. Is that the music club? No, they're meeting on Thursday. That's cool. Okay. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So with that, unless Professor Hanlon has anything else, I will close up the session.
No, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody. It's really great to see you. Well, or to join you, I should say. You know, don't be a stranger. We're all here to help you. And then when you graduate and go on to do awesome things, we'll be talking about our days together back at Lehman. So thanks a lot. And thank you, Professor Carney and Professor Scheinheit.
Terrific. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording now.